Welcome to another AVID Chat. David Harple and Jack Arnold. Jack, good to see you today.
Good to see you, Dave.
If you're joining us today, we're going to talk about, really try to answer a question. Can money buy you happiness? And I actually think it's a great topic. I think we could talk for hours upon this because there's so much that goes around that idea of money and what it can do for you, what it can't do for you. Do you have enough? Is there enough? We've done, I think way back, AVID Chat 16, we talked about as you make more money, what does that really do for you? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Can money buy you happiness? What do you think?
Right. I mean, it's like the question is like old as time. So I don't know. There's never really a cut and dry answer. I think it depends on your definition of happiness. I guess your definition on buying it. Like I think there's a lot to even just nuance in the question to even answer. So I mean, I think most people would say no. I do think that there's certainly a level of not having that would make you unhappy. There's no doubt. So I think, like you said, back when we talked in that other chat, it was, there is a certain level where, and I think this is more where your basic needs are taken care of, food, safety, shelter, that type of thing. And then beyond that, then it's a matter of, that's just depending on how you deal with it. I think that's a little bit different. So I think in the negative, I think a lack of can make you unhappy, but there is a point where its utility, and as far as happiness, however you define that, I think it's less useful, I guess.
Right. I think that if somebody were to see the title of this, Can Money Buy You Happiness, coming from two financial planners, they would think they're going to ultimately say, no, it can't. And you should save more and not spend it, and all these technical things that you typically would hear. And I would say, can money buy you happiness? Absolutely. It can. I mean, there's been multiple periods of my life where I've had either, I don't want to call it a windfall because that makes it sound like tons of money comes in your hand, but it's $20 in your back pocket after your jeans come out of the dryer. And you're like, it's $20. Like, it can buy you happiness. I think there is. And even from personal experience, from working with how many hundreds, if not thousands of people, there is a limit to what type of happiness it actually provides. But my answer is yes, I guess would be the quick short answer for me is yes.
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends. I think it depends on your definition of what you would say happiness is. I'm sure, I don't know who said this, but I've always liked this kind of quote that like happiness is not something you don't pursue it ensues. Like you just kind of choose it. Like it's like kind of acting with some kind of equanimity about, hey, things happen and I'm going to control the things I can control and not worry about the things that I can't. And I guess contentment, is more the word that I would use when it comes to money. Happiness is maybe more of a temporary state where you're just like you said, you find $20, like that's pretty cool actually. Like even though it's just, I guess $20, but if you didn't think you had it, then you had it. It's kind of free money. But that doesn't last for 6 weeks. Right. It's maybe a few minutes. You're like, oh, it's almost more like excitement, I guess, in some sense. But I do think that there's a point where not having it will make you an unhappy person. So, if you're struggling to do anything, if you don't have food to eat and you're just struggling to pay your bills, it's hard to be content and, whatever you would define as happy if you don't have it. But again, I do think there's a level where it becomes less and less impactful the more that you have.
Right.
If you've got $1 million, another $1 million would help. But like, how much more is that going to impact your well-being?
Yeah. So it's almost like it can buy you happiness up to a point, but it can't buy you more happiness. In other words, you know what I mean? You get to a point where you're like, okay, I've got enough to do everything that I want to do. Fill in the blanks because we're all different. And then I get more. Well, all right, now I just have more. So there is a limit to that. I would say things that we talk about all the time is, first defining for yourself what that happiness is, which starts with what are my values? What am I really, my purpose in life? What do I want to get out of this time on earth and making money so that money is the tool that you use to help fulfill yourself would be a way to look at just the use of money in general, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, like an econ person would call that diminishing returns. Like you get less and less return for every incremental unit of money that you get past a certain point. There's, like I said, 10 million to 11 million is like, yeah, it's $1 million, but it's not like that big of a, in terms of your well-being. But yeah, to your point, I do think, like the ninja level of money is where you've lost all kind of emotional connection with the physical, like the numbers on the screen, and you only see it as a tool to be used to further what you're trying to accomplish. That's like the ultimate level is. It's just a tool. It's just something that helps me accomplish the things that I'm going to accomplish. It's just like it's literally a number on a screen, but I turn that into something meaningful to me. It allows me to do meaningful things to me. I think that's how it can help. That's even going back to the food safety shelter. It provides food safety shelter, but once it provides that, additional dollars above that mean nothing if you don't have some kind of meaningful attachment to what they provide. When you don't have money and you can't eat and you don't have whatever, can't pay your bills, it's very meaningful and you feel it. But beyond some point, then it becomes almost like the universe turning around you and saying, well, what now? Like, what are you going to do now? Like, you've got money, you're successful by almost any measure in terms of income. Now what? You can't say it's a lack of money. You have plenty. You could pretty much do anything you think of short of some, super duper luxury type things, but you can do most of what you want to do. But what is that? It's kind of, how do you extract the contentment out of the tool that you have, in this case being money, which is much more difficult to do.
And I think to your ninja count, which I think is a great analogy. I mean, that's it, like mastering your cash flow and money in general, to become a ninja. I love it. It is, giving things purpose and priorities in your life, I believe will help do that. Because, let's say you're past that point of you're covering the basis, you're doing everything, and then you still have more. Without attaching some sort of high-level priorities to the money, we've all done this. We've spent money and looked back and said, man, I can't believe I just spent whatever on X, Y, Z. And yeah, okay, that was cool, but I don't know. Was it worth it? Would I do something different? As opposed to saying, this is the thing that I know that we're working towards or I really want to do. And it doesn't have to be, savings. This could be, my family wants to take a trip to Europe and we don't have the money today, but if we plan for it in the next 4 years, we can do that. That's a purposeful thing. And then you go on the trip to Europe, you spend the money. I think the reward is so much more grand because you've attached purpose and value leading up to it, then spending the money, as opposed to spending the money and then reflecting on whether or not it matched some sort of, virtue or value that you probably really haven't given a lot of thought to.
Yeah, right. I totally agree. Did money give you the happiness? Not really. It gave you the ability, it gave you the tool to create something that gave you some meaning to what you were doing. And that's what gave you the happiness or meaning, or, however you want to define that. You used it as a tool. So this is like the whole figure out what the purpose is. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your values? What would be meaningful? What kind of things, what kind of experiences and things you want to do? And then like, all right, now that we know that, which is not easy to figure out, but once you do the work of figuring that out, let me build some kind of system that will get me to that particular point.
That's right.
I have the X coming in. All right, I have these units coming in, dollars. I want to use them in a way that supports a particular way that I want to live my life. It's a great tool for that. How do I build a system to do that? Because ultimately, I don't want my mind and my life to be consumed with money in the sense that it's the only thing. It's just a tool. It's like waking up every day thinking about hammers. Like, there's just no purpose to it. Like, but if you tie some purpose, now it's like, I have a purpose. Let me build a system to get there, and then let the system do it, and then I can go out and just experience and live my life. And every once in a while, you got to check back in and maintain the system. Maybe your purpose changed to update it, but
absolutely,
it's a great tool. It's not a great thing for giving you meaning. It's just a tool to produce something going forward.
That's right. It's all those, excuse me, all of those things, building the systems, that helps really take your money life to the next level. It takes you out of the every day-to-day lifestyle that you're probably used to doing, and now you're looking forward on much bigger, grander things because you have these systems put in place to help you, really expand your mind. I think it opens up your ability to be creative with yourself and your finances and start to enjoy life, become that kind of money ninja that you've always wanted to be.
Right.
So I think it can buy you happiness. There's no doubt about it. There is a limit, in my opinion. And I think the takeaway so far is being the master of your money first as the tool will ultimately give you the more freedom and flexibility, which in turn, I guess, would give you happiness. But I like what you said at the very beginning, that happiness is almost like it's a very short-term emotion, right? And so you're really looking for something that's going to provide longevity, and that's where the systems come into place to really help that.
Yeah. Right. Like, I think like if you were to say like happiness is the short-term vocabulary term that you would use to describe a feeling, like it's almost like if you were to say cooking, boiling is obvious, but that's very an active, very active process, a lot going on, there's lots of stuff.
Yeah.
But something that you do this is like slow cooking versus like searing something, I guess. So like what is the long-term simmer version of happiness?
I think
I would say it's contentment, but I don't know. There's probably another word.
I'm the first thing that came to my mind as you were describing that was fulfillment. Like I'm feeling fulfilled. Yeah. Content is a great word too, I think. These go back to the vocabulary words. I don't know what chat that was, but there's plenty out there that what you might define as a long-term version of happiness, I might choose a different word. And I think that's great. We should have a word that attaches meaning to ourselves and our personalities and all of these things. And then that should be the guiding factor to using money as the tool. So
figure out the purpose first.
I was just going to say, so any basic steps to recommend would be 1, figure out your purpose first and foremost. That bar none is most important in our opinion. 2, I would say would be put some sort of systems into place so that you can get past the rigmarole of checking in and balancing your checkbook, so to speak, and moving on to bigger things, more valuable things, more things that you'd rather spend your time on. Those 2 absolutely are super important. Then I would say if you have those in place, the 3rd thing would be don't forget about it. Don't lose sight of it. Go back, review it, tweak it, update it, because you're going to change. Your values are going to change. You've said this before in other videos. 5 years from now, what you think is important today, you'll think is stupid.
Yeah,
and that's
natural course of things. Exactly. It'd be odd if a lot of your views on things didn't change in 5 years just because you've gotten older, you learn new things, and you have new experiences. As long as you're open-minded, naturally things are going to change. It's provable if you just think about what you thought was important 5 years ago, the kind of where you were and how things changed. So, anyways, yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Good point. So, can money buy you happiness? We think it can. We also think it can provide a lot more if you take control of it, give it a job, give it purpose, understand your values, and make sure those things work together. So it's good chat, Jack. If you guys like this, click, subscribe, comment to the YouTube channel. Let us know what we're doing well, what you want to hear about. Pass it along to a friend if you think it's valuable. We sure could appreciate it. And we look forward to talking with you next week.
All right. See ya.
See ya.